the works by right from PNF, the artist PNF, through to Fene Demili, through to Nicholas Lobo, and you have differences of course how these artists have worked. There are artists who have been painters, artists who have been sculptors, artists who make installation work, video work, drawing work. So it's every form of artwork. We haven't excluded any contemporary form of artwork. But I think the important thing about the books was actually the historical relevance of the books. This is why we've called it South African Art in Context, because up to literally today when the books come out, or tomorrow when the books come out, we actually do not have a concise history of South African contemporary art. We have fragments of history which are spread about in research and in various other forms of publication, but nobody has actually brought together all this information to tell a story about what South Africans have achieved in the field of contemporary visual art practice.
Yes.
And this has really been the target of the book, because apartheid never wrote this history, and certainly British colonialism didn't. So it's really up to us now in the post-apartheid period. And South Africans produce all sorts of art. This is the amazing thing. People, particularly South Africans themselves, particularly those who are not concerned with the art world, are quite astonished when they discover that South African art right now, at this moment in time, and certainly for the last 5 to 10 years, has been extremely popular. We have South African artists who today are in the top 4 or 5 artists in the world are South African artists. You have Marlene Dumas and you have William Kentridge. Marlene Dumas is perhaps known as the most expensive living female artist currently in the world in terms of her prices. And William Kentridge is extremely well known for his animation films and video installations that he's made, also for his sculptures, and of course his operatic sets and pieces that he's made. And William, in fact, has an exhibition in Johannesburg that opens tomorrow, so people can go and see that. It's at the Goodman Gallery. I have only written a few bits of the overall text. There are some 36 essays in these 4 volumes, and they are written by various invited historians and writers and theoreticians who are concerned with contemporary art practice over the ages. So in the early volumes, which deals with the artwork from 1907 to 1940, there are a group of experts who have been researching this period of South African art practice for some of them for 10, 20 years. So they are historians of great importance to this narrative of our history. So I haven't actually done it myself. What I have done is actually to create a project in which it was possible to make this history, this document of history, appear, because my concern was that there was not such a document, you cannot move forward without knowing where you've come from. You cannot really understand all of the present if you have not somehow engaged with the past, where you've come from. And I think this was my concern, that if a young person today in Soweto or wherever wanted to discover the history of South African art and see him or herself reflected in it through the participation of all of South Africans, they wouldn't find that, because it never existed.
And would this book, Gavin, also be available as part of the curriculum at universities?
At the moment, that's for the universities to decide whether they want to use this as an instrument in their curriculum as part of their teaching. It's certainly in terms of finding information, because every writer who's written an essay on a particular period has, of course, cross-referenced his or her information with other bits of information. So the books are written with a large index. They are written with many, many references. And most importantly, the books are written with comparative timelines. there are 4 comparative timelines. There's a timeline of South African art history and international art history. So that's to put the art in the context of what was happening inside South Africa and what was happening elsewhere in the world at the same time. And then it's put in the context of South African politics and international politics, because these things have an influence of how art appeared and how art was used or misused in South Africa, particularly in both the colonial period and in the apartheid period. So I think this is a phenomenal reference tool for young people or for students or for historians to be able to go into this book and find not necessarily all the information. No history book will ever be able to deliver that, but at least find relevant and important bits of new information that perhaps has not yet been published and could become a revelation for their own future research or own future studies if this is what somebody needs.
How long has this project actually been in the making to get to this point tomorrow?
Yes, that's a big question. It's from my personal involvement as inventing it as a project and writing it up as a project, it's 5.5 years. Mm-hmm. That's how long it's taken. It took us probably almost a year, 2 years to raise the money, and then it took us 2.5 years, I suppose, to do the research, and then finally the picture research and all the final little design parts and all of the aspect of actually producing the actual volumes themselves, getting it ready for print, etc., and getting it to the printers.
Yes.
That all together has taken 5.5 years.
Wow. So for you to see all this hard work now in these 4 volumes must be quite
I'm sitting here at the Wits press office and we're waiting for the books to be delivered as I'm speaking. It's supposed to arrive any minute now. So I've only seen them on computer screens, books. The physical books are actually in the country and they should arrive any moment at the offices. So we're waiting for them right now.
Are you getting a good response?
So far, we've had a phenomenal response, yes, in both national and international response. In fact, when I arrived at Wits University Press this morning, there were people standing outside waiting just to buy the books straight from the press. But the books, of course, haven't yet arrived, so they had to be sent off and asked to come back later because the books were on their way to us. So hopefully, like I said, they're somewhere on campus and will be in the offices very, very shortly. But the books will be available as of tomorrow, because there's a conference tomorrow day, and we launch the books in the evening. And then on Saturday morning, we launch the books in Cape Town. And then in a week's time, we launch them in Washington and in New York in the USA.
There's lots of great art coming out of our country.
Fashion designers and artists and architects and photographers they are prominent across the world internationally. If you take this year's Venice Biennale, which is one of the big contemporary exhibitions of contemporary art, South African artists had 6 artists represented, 3 in our own pavilion. And if you looked across the board in who else was represented nationally, you'll discover that America only had 2 other artists, and Germany had 3 other artists, and we had 6. And this is a pattern that has repeated itself at large exhibitions, which is a proof that we have attained a certain recognition, a certain status in the international art world, and I think that's important for young people to understand that there is a future for our visual artists, and that future has got to be constructed creatively by us, and it also has to be recorded creatively by us so that we will have a record, so that the next following generation know where their history comes from and is able to reference it and able to study it and able to appreciate it for what it is in terms of its achievement.
How did you come to love art so much?
I loved it from the time I was taken by my kindergarten in Cape Town to a place called the Children's Art Center, which still exists today. And it was just a love affair that started from my earliest childhood, and it's been like that and will most probably remain like that till the end of my day. So, yes, the art world is a very strange world, and it has its ups and its downs, but it is a place for the freedom of expression, perhaps the biggest site for freedom of expression next to literature.